History remembers Nero as a ruler, but behind the crown was a man consumed by violence, vanity, and madness. He murdered his own family, burned his capital to the ground, and built a palace of gold while his people starved. But the darkest crime of all was what he did to a young boy named Sporus. These are the 7 brutal crimes of Emperor Nero that they don't want you to know. Before we dive in, just a quick ask. These videos take a lot of time, research, and care to create. If you're enjoying the journey through these forgotten corners of history, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. It doesn't cost you anything, but it means everything to the channel and helps keep these stories alive. Thank you so much. Starting from number 7, the murder of his own mother, Agrippina. Nero's path to power was paved in blood, and the most infamous example was the death of his own mother, Agrippina. She wasn't just any mother, she was the woman who had secured his place on the throne. At first, they ruled almost side by side, with Agrippina whispering in his ear and ensuring her influence shaped Rome. But as Nero grew older, her dominance became unbearable. He wanted freedom, freedom to indulge, freedom to rule without her shadow. Nero's first attempt to kill her was almost theatrical. He arranged for her to take a ride on a specially designed boat that would collapse in the middle of the sea. The plot failed. Agrippina swam to shore and survived. Furious, Nero decided there could be no more games. He ordered assassins to invade her villa. According to historians, Agrippina's last words were chilling. She pointed to her womb and demanded, "Strike here, for this bore Nero." Her brutal murder cemented Nero as a ruler willing to destroy his own bloodline to secure absolute power. This act horrified Rome. Killing an emperor's mother was unthinkable, an insult to both family and the gods. But Nero showed the world that nothing, not even maternal bonds, would stand in the way of his ambitions. Number 6, the murder of his wife, Poppaea Sabina. Nero's cruelty wasn't limited to political rivals or even his mother. It extended to those he supposedly loved. His second wife, Poppaea Sabina, was known for her beauty and ambition. She had once been the mistress of another powerful man, but set her sights on Nero, eventually becoming empress. Together, they were Rome's golden couple, or so it seemed. Behind palace walls, Nero's temper often spiraled into violence. Ancient sources tell us that during one of their arguments, Poppaea, pregnant with his child, angered him. In a fit of rage, Nero kicked her so violently that both she and the unborn baby died. Some historians question the details, but the consensus remains. Her death was caused by Nero's brutality. The irony was bitter. Poppaea had schemed and sacrificed everything to become Nero's empress, only to be destroyed by the very man she had fought for. Worse still, Nero seemed to grieve in his own twisted way. He had her embalmed with rare spices and displayed with regal honors. But behind the mourning masks, everyone knew the truth. She had been killed by his hand. This crime revealed Nero's complete lack of control over his impulses. To kill one's pregnant wife in a fit of temper was not just a personal crime, but a public scandal, an act that destroyed any illusion of him as a ruler chosen by the gods. Number 5, the Great Fire of Rome. On a hot July night in 64 AD, flames erupted in the merchant stalls around Rome's Circus Maximus. Fueled by wooden homes and dry winds, the fire spread quickly, devouring entire districts. For 6 days and 7 nights, Rome burned. Ancient historians claim Nero watched from a tower, singing and playing his lyre as the city turned to ash. Whether he literally fiddled while Rome burned is debated, but what's undeniable is how he responded. Instead of organizing relief for the victims, Nero seized the opportunity. He blamed the disaster on the Christians, a small religious minority, and unleashed one of the earliest persecutions in history. Christians were rounded up, tortured and executed in gruesome public spectacles. Some were torn apart by dogs, others burned alive to illuminate Nero's gardens at night. Meanwhile, Nero used the destruction as an excuse to redesign Rome on his terms. Entire neighborhoods were cleared to make way for his massive golden house, the Domus Aurea, a palace so extravagant it shocked even Rome's elite. The fire left thousands homeless, yet Nero used the ashes of the city as the foundation of his vanity project. For the Roman people, the Great Fire was a tragedy. For Nero, it was an opportunity, one he built in blood and flames. Number 4, the murder of his first wife, Octavia before Poppaea Sabina. There was Claudia Octavia, Nero's first wife. She was the daughter of Emperor Claudius, and their marriage was arranged to strengthen Nero's claim to the throne. By all accounts, Octavia was dutiful, loyal, and beloved by the Roman people. But to Nero, she was nothing more than a political pawn. Their marriage quickly soured. Nero was openly unfaithful, flaunting his affairs with Poppaea and others. Octavia endured it silently, but her popularity with the public made her a threat to Poppaea's ambitions. When Poppaea pressed Nero to get rid of her, he obliged with chilling efficiency. First, Octavia was accused of infertility. When that excuse failed to convince the public, Nero had her charged with adultery, a cruel irony given his own behavior. Despite her innocence, Octavia was banished to the island of Pandateria. Days later, Nero ordered her execution. According to accounts, her veins were cut open, and she was left to bleed to death. Rome was outraged. Citizens decorated statues with flowers in her honor, openly mourning her. Octavia's death exposed Nero's willingness to sacrifice even the most innocent for his desires. Her blood became the price for Poppaea's crown. Number 3, executions and persecutions. Nero's reign was soaked in blood, not just of his family, but of anyone who dared to oppose him. Political rivals, senators, generals, no one was safe. He was infamous for staging trials where guilt was predetermined, followed by public executions designed to instill fear. One of his most brutal campaigns was against the Christians, who he scapegoated for the Great Fire. The torture methods were shocking even by Roman standards. Victims were crucified, torn apart by wild animals, or set ablaze to serve as human torches. These executions were not carried out in private. They were entertainment, spectacles meant to remind everyone of Nero's power. But Christians weren't his only targets. Senators accused of treason were forced to take their own lives, their families stripped of wealth. Generals who gained too much popularity mysteriously disappeared. Even poets and philosophers who criticized him found themselves executed or exiled. Nero didn't just punish crimes. He punished thought, belief, and influence. His Rome became a world where speaking out was a death sentence, and silence was the only survival. His brutality ensured obedience, but it also sowed fear and resentment that would ultimately lead to his downfall. Number 2, the Golden House, Domus Aurea. In the aftermath of the Great Fire, when thousands of Romans were left starving and homeless, Nero unveiled his grand vision, the Domus Aurea, or Golden House. This wasn't just a palace, it was a monument to excess. Spanning more than 200 acres, it had artificial lakes, vineyards, lush gardens, and dining rooms where ceilings showered guests with petals and perfume. The walls glittered with gold and precious stones, while giant statues of Nero himself loomed over the grounds. To build it, entire districts were cleared, often by force. Survivors of the fire lost not only their homes, but also their chance to rebuild, as Nero claimed the land for his pleasure. The contrast was impossible to ignore. While ordinary Romans struggled to survive, their emperor lived in unparalleled luxury. The Domus Aurea was more than vanity. It was cruelty in architectural form. Every golden wall was a reminder to the people of what they had lost and who had taken it. Rome wasn't rebuilt for its citizens. It was rebuilt for Nero. Number 1. The brutal fate of Sporus. Of all Nero's crimes, none was more twisted or disturbing than what he did to Sporus. Sporus was a young boy taken into Nero's court, and for reasons still debated by historians, Nero had him forcibly castrated. The emperor then dressed him as a woman and announced him as his new bride. In a grotesque ceremony, Nero paraded Sporus before the public, calling him Sabina, the name of his dead wife, Poppaea. For Sporus, it was a life stripped of dignity. He was forced to play the role of empress, attending public events at Nero's side, a living reminder of the emperor's cruelty. Rome whispered in shock, but no one dared intervene. Sporus had become both a victim and a symbol of Nero's unchecked power, a boy robbed of identity, choice, and future. What makes this crime stand above all others is not just its brutality, but its intimacy. This wasn't a political enemy or a rival. This was a child, broken to satisfy Nero's twisted desires. Historians later noted that Sporus's fate haunted him even after Nero's death. He lived on under other emperors, carrying the scars of being turned into an object of power and humiliation. In the end, the story of Sporus is the most chilling testament to Nero's reign. It wasn't just about conquest, murder, or destruction. It was about erasing humanity itself. Nero's reign was built on blood, fear, and fire. He ruled not as a protector, but as a destroyer, leaving behind a legacy of cruelty that echoes through history. From the deaths of his mother and wives, to the torment of Rome itself, and finally the brutal fate of Sporus, Nero's crimes reveal the horrifying truth about unchecked power. In the end, Rome rose against him, and he died alone, abandoned and hated. But his story remains a warning. When a ruler believes they are above all others, the price is always paid in human suffering. Thank you, and see you in the next episode of Dark Lore.